to the program. The Cook Political Report's Amy Walter was on Special Report on Fox, and she was discussing some of the realities that are new truths coming in, looking at the Pew polling. And Pew polling has really been doing the heavy lifting, looking at the attitudes and thoughts that Americans hold post-election. And this time their polling is about social media, how much people trust social media versus traditional news outlets like our own. So let's take a look.
And you can look at it as a result of the election. You can also look at it as these are folks who understand that they have a business to run, and the people in charge in Washington, it's not just Trump, but it's Republicans in the White House controlling Congress, and they need to be on the right side here because fundamentally they don't want to have restrictions coming from Congress onto them. The other thing that's really fascinating, though, we talk a lot about the frustration conservatives have had with social media, but looking at a Pew study the other day, actually, conservative Republicans trust social media now more than they trust mainstream news.
So, of course, that would be the norm because you have equal representation on Elon Musk's X between conservatives and liberals, and that's a place where people can argue and hash out their ideas. People feel heard there. They don't feel heard on news media that continue to parrot the lie during the Biden administration that Bidenomics was working for Americans, that it was the strongest economy ever, that we had basically an economic boom, and that Americans were just too dumb to actually see it. You even saw this happen with Don Lemon. He was interviewing people as he traveled across the country in a kind of a special that he was doing in his new talk show that he does post CNN exit. And he was talking to Americans in Atlantic City, and the viral video proved that mainstream media outlets in the corporate space, a lot of them don't have an understanding of what it's like to be an American in a double-digit inflationary period under Democrats and the Biden-Harris administration. And that was just one example of the tone-deaf attitudes. Tone deaf. They were literally having this attitude towards Americans as if to say, you know, we're reporting how you feel, as opposed to how do you feel so we can report it. That's a huge distinction. You don't see that on social media outlets like X, where programs that are hosted there and elsewhere on Rumble and YouTube and places like Salem News Channel, where we find out what you're thinking and then report that back, as opposed to deciding what the news is and then reporting it to you and telling you how to feel. So what's the big deal here? I don't think Amy's reporting and Pew's research on this is new. I think it's a reflection of an attitude that's been prevalent in America for the entirety of the Biden administration, but it's now coming fully to the fore and following the heels of the announcement from Facebook that they'll be doing less censoring, not eliminating censoring altogether, but doing less. It's a welcome change. It's a welcome report. It's actually good to see the truth coming out as opposed to people telling other Americans how to feel and what to think and then paraphrasing it for them. Turning now to environmental and social governance, which should be actually rephrased and recategorized as a curse word. People should have to actually whisper it when they speak about it because it's that dastardly and that detrimental to increasing shareholder value for companies. It turns out that you have another, quote, ESG rat jumping ship, close quote, as Morgan Stanley quits the net zero banking alliance ahead of Trump 2.0. Now, Tyler Durden over at Zero Hedge is reporting on this. And one of our own favorite guests here on the program was the viral tweet that he's referencing. Steve Malloy from junkscience.com sent out that tweet with that phraseology. He said, another ESG rat jumps ship. Morgan Stanley leaves the illegal net zero banking alliance. Now, what's interesting about this is that NZBA, which is their acronym, is a group of Wall Street firms that push woke climate initiatives, and they force their member clients to pay for it. And so you, by extension, are paying for it if you're investing in any of these multi-billion-dollar mega firms that really control all of Wall Street. So what's melting, according to Steve Malloy, is the illegal ESG cartel. Citigroup and Bank of America have also dropped out of the Net Zero Banking Alliance. And according to Bloomberg, NZBA coordinates its work with the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, backed by the UN. Parents defending education found more funding came out of the Biden administration going back to 2021. We break down those numbers when we return.